Hello, all you tiny little people that live in my computer. My name is Finn, and this week I am sick. So if I'm coughing or sneezing or sniffly or anything, I apologize. I'm still gonna aim to make this a well put together video, but I am quite sick. So, there's that. Today, I want to talk about what I want from James Gunn's DCU. If you're not caught up on all that, I'll give a little Cliff Notes intro to it. In the 2010s, there was a universe put together by one Zack Snyder. And between the quality and the quantity, both being fairly lackluster, it fell. It kind of fell apart. Not a whole lot of it stayed into the 2020s. There wasn't a whole lot to come out of it. But whenever it ended, Warner Brothers decided to make a new universe, and they slotted in not one Zack Snyder. He was from the other period. They slotted one James Gunn, and James Gunn, so far, has put out one feature-length film, Superman, and then a few smaller projects such as Peacemaker Season 2, Creature Commandos, and currently we have a couple things in the works between Lanterns, Supergirl, and Clayface. Now, I am not a Snyder cultist, nor am I one of the Gunn bros. I'm not really specifically on either side. I'm not one of those people who's going to sit here and grill you for liking something, nor am I going to be upset with you for not liking something. I think both people have had great creative ideas. I would say I prefer Gunn's work, but that doesn't make Zack Snyder a terrible creative or a terrible director or a terrible writer. It's just that his stuff isn't for me, and that's okay. But blah, 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 blah. Snyder Cult versus Gunn Bros has been a big deal for a bit now. So much so that there have been multiple controversies of death threats or a couple illegal things have happened and whatnot in that scenario. But that's not what this is about. This is about what I want out of Gunn's new DCU, about the characters and the stories that I want to see. And Lord, and talking about what I would like to come from that, because the whole point is to give these characters more time, to give these stories and these ideas and whatnot that have been around forever, to give them a slot in a modern cultural, like, pop media thing, to get more eyes on it and to express who these characters are, what they mean, what these stories are. And that's kind of what it should be. That's what I think comic media should be whenever it's adapted into a show or a cartoon or a film, animated or live action, whatever, is taking these characters that we love, taking these stories that we care for, and moving them over and making them a bigger cultural deal by making them something that is so much more accessible for people who aren't super into reading a comic book. Me, I like them. I've got all of Swamp Thing, 2 of the 5 Ultimate Omnis, all of Immortal Hulks over there, half of All New Wolverine. I like comics. For Christmas, I don't know how much, but I'm getting a novel. I know that, and I'm excited for it. But I like comics. Not everybody does. Not everybody likes comics. Not everybody likes to read. Not everybody's super into that, right? And luckily, a lot of these characters and these ideas and these stories have been adapted in such positive ways, sometimes, that people know what they are. Because 20 years ago, I feel like the average person didn't know who Thanos was. But now, that is the big bad of 2 of the highest grossing films of all time. And he's been on screen for so much and whatnot. Now he's sort of a go-to for Marvel Comics. I feel like A lot of people didn't know who Bane was until the Dark Knight trilogy was like ending. Same with Ra's al Ghul, stuff like that. A lot of children are introduced to these characters through cartoons, whether it be the DC animated series of Justice League or Superman or Batman or one of the 5 other Batman cartoons or Ultimate Spider-Man or Spectacular Spider-Man or Avengers Assemble or Earth's Mightiest Heroes or whatever. These are the way that we show these characters to people. For better or for worse. Sometimes you get Ant-Man Quantumania. Sometimes you get the Captain America trilogy. Sometimes you get The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Sometimes you get The Dark Knight Rises. It's not a toss-up because it's very much on the people creating it, but it is a mixed bag. And I think having more of this comic media come out and be positive and be good and be high quality would be very good for everybody. It'd be good for comic fans, it'd be good for comic creators, it'd be good for these actors and these writers and these directors and blah, blah, blah. So now that we're done with that boring segment, let's get into what I want out of the DCU. Huh? So, to begin, I want to state that if I name a character that you don't like, that's okay. And if I don't name a character that you love, that's also okay. Because I'm talking about what I want. I'm not pitching here. I'm not saying like this is the media that needs to happen. I'm saying this is the stuff that I would be most excited for. So, yeah. I will also not be including things that are already coming. For example, I won't be talking about a superhero film as it's on its way, nor will I be talking about a Green Lantern show because one of those is on the way. I will specifically be talking about stuff that we don't know for sure yet. Yeah. Anyways, let's get into this with what I think is really important, and that's, I think Green Arrow should be a big deal. And I know what you're thinking. You're either going, yes, or who is that? And those are the two options, really. So, Oliver Queen, typically is Green. Sometimes it's another person, but typically, Oliver Queen is a billionaire who was stranded on an island and had to learn to take care of himself. And then whenever he came back from said island, he realized how much of a spoiled brat he was, and he slowly grew to be a good guy. And in this, Ollie is a good boy. He kind of becomes almost a lighter version of Batman, but more enjoyable, because his stories typically are much more individual based and much more character driven than I would say a lot of Batman stuff is, because I feel like a lot of Batman stuff, especially throughout the 2010s, is less driven by characters and more driven by trauma, which is interesting for a while, but at a certain point it becomes nothing but trauma bait. But I love Green Arrow. A lot of people do. Green Arrow's great. There was an Arrow show, which was... Anyways, but Green Arrow is a pretty important character to a lot of people, myself included. And the character kind of gets shafted in modern media. The last time I feel like he meant something outside of a comic book was Justice League the animated Justice League series. And in that, he still wasn't necessarily perfect. He was great. But he wasn't necessarily involved super often. He kind of got little broed by, Batman. Which I think is kind of mean whenever they're both kind of in the same vein and looking for the same things. But I think Green Arrow should be a big deal. If I think I think you could sell tickets to a Green Arrow movie. Do I think they make it a film? Probably not. It'll probably be a series, maybe animated, I don't know. But I feel like they should do something with Green Arrow because he has a fun rogues gallery, he has fun characters around him, he has a good thing going. There's cats fighting on my bed. But I like Green Arrow, and I really want them to do something with him outside of he's a guy with a bow and arrow. Because he's got a lot of fun stories. He is this, like, incredibly rich guy who starts out as this shithead. And then he becomes a warrior of the people. He becomes, like, this on-the-ground, doing the work guy. He doesn't just throw money at a charity. He goes to the charity and does work. He's the guy who is, like, down there on the level. If there's a, like, what are they called? Oh, no. If there is a scenario where there's a protest, Ollie's there. He's not hiding out in a building. He is at the protest. If there is a soup kitchen, he's not throwing money at them and nothing else. He's throwing his money at them, but then he's at the soup kitchen helping. He's that guy. That's who Ollie is. And I think having, especially with what we know about some of these characters already, like who this Superman is, right? A version of Ollie who is on the ground always helping. Though that would lead to, like, a tremendous relationship, I believe, between the two. Also, it's pretty obvious that this new universe is very forward-thinking in its ideals and whatnot, and Ollie is the probably most liberal superhero ever. Probably. So, put him in there. Next up, I want Red Lanterns to be a thing, and they need to be a big deal. Specifically, I want the Supergirl as a Red Lantern thing. I think that'd be really interesting. I feel like you couldn't do that in a movie. I feel like you'd have to do that one in a show, because I don't think you could get that whole, like, storyline across over, like, 2 hours. But I think it'd be really fun to get a storyline like that put out there and express how it's kind of fun to see how these characters that we already know are powerful react with new powers. For example, her with the Red Lantern ring, or Guy Gardner with the Red Lantern ring, which is something I'll probably talk about in a bit. I really want to see things like that. I don't think you have to bring every version of it in, right? Like, you don't have to show me Batman with the yellow ring and the green ring and da-da-da-da-da, but it'd be interesting to see these characters doing that on a bigger stage. So I would like to see Red Lanterns be a big deal, specifically so that we can get Supergirl as a Red Lantern, and also Guy Gardner, because Guy Gardner as a Red Lantern is so fucking silly to me. I love it so much. I like it. Speaking of lanterns, can we have them do stuff, please? Because I'm excited for lanterns. I am, but I'm also slightly worried for that show. Specifically because lanterns doing stuff on Earth is only so impactful for such a time, right? And after we've seen them... Okay, so we had a really shitty Green Lantern film where everything happened, like most of it happened on Earth and there wasn't much going on. In Superman, Guy Gardner's on Earth, does a bunch of stuff, and it's really fun. But how long can we handle the Lanterns only doing stuff on Earth? You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that series sheds a little light elsewhere and not all on Earth. I hope there's at least some bits. I would also like to see them in their, like, gear that they get from the ring, rather than just in regular clothing the entire show. But that's me. Maybe I'm crazy, but that's something that I would like. Something I really want to see is emphasis on how important these villains are to these heroes. And I think we've already got that a little bit with Lex Luthor. Because let's look at the MCU as an example, right? A villain shows up in Iron Man. Obadiah dies in that movie. Iron Man 2, Whiplash is dead. Iron Man 3, the villains are all dead. Captain America, Red Skull doesn't die, but like he's gone. He doesn't really play a role in the story for the next 10 years. What else do we got here? Hela, she's dead. Ultron, he's dead. Vulture's in prison. Well, we actually don't know if he's still in prison because of a really bad film. Mysterio is dead. What else do we got here? Zola's gone. Baron Zemo, gone. Like, the most of the villains are just dead or gone, and they don't really show up again. We have a couple who do, like Loki, who shows up forever. Thanos was around for a while. But like for the most part, these characters all die in the Tobey Maguire films, the Sam Raimi trilogy. All of his villains but Sandman die. In Amazing Spider-Man, all of them but Lizard die. And I don't know. Man of Steel, Zod's dead. Justice League, Steppenwolf dead. I can't remember if Ares dies in Wonder Woman. That movie is a fucking situation to watch through. But like, you know, these characters don't really... These villains don't really get a chance to shine to their fullest because they're so stuck in 1 hour or 2 hour or one series, and that's all they get. And then you think about like what villains are the best, and they either have a finished story or they're in so much. Loki, he's in Thor 1, Thor 2, Thor 3. He's in Avengers 1. He's in Avengers 3. He's in his show. Like, you know what I mean? He's in all these things. We look at Thanos. He's in Avengers. He's in Avengers 2. He's in Avengers 3 and 4. He's in What If. He's in Zombie. He's in all this stuff. They're in so much. Baron Zemo. He's in Winter Soldier. Wait, is he in Winter Soldier? No, I think he's just... So he's in Civil War. Then he has all of Falcon and the Winter Soldier to exist. They give these characters more time. They give them more ability to do stuff, and it makes them so much more intriguing, whereas these characters who show up for... I love Obadiah. I love... Iron Man 1 is the best Iron Man movie, and I don't think it's even near close. I also think it is the best of, like, the startup of, like, Thor, Iron Man, Captain America. I love Obadiah, but he's around for 2 hours, and then he is dead. These characters that mean the most are the ones that show up for elongated periods. And that's why, like, series and shows are able to have such fun villains in comparison to the films. It's because they have so much time to exist. What's a good example? The best Joker is Mark Hamill's Joker. And that's not because Hamill is immediately better than every other actor to hold the character, but it's because we had so much time with the character. We had so much time with the animated series, right? We had so much time with that. And then separate Joker, same the Arkham series. That's all Hamill, and it's not the same character as the animated series, but it's still so impactful because you spend so many hours with the character. And that's kind of something that I want them to do more. And I think they're doing it because A, Luthor lived, B, Man of Tomorrow was Lex and Clark teaming up. So, I'm kind of expecting them to have a little bit more emphasis on these villains. And I would like a couple more actual bad guys. Because something the MCU did is it took a lot of these villains and it made them sympathetic. It made you care. And for some of them it works, right? But for some of them it kind of feels like they care too much about me caring about the villain to the point where it's like every single movie. I'm like, okay, what's this villain's gimmick? Why do we not hate them? Why are they allowed to leave at the end? It's not bad. I think you can have those here and there, but it becomes boring when that's every single film. So I would like them to step away from that. I think, because they're doing Batman, and they're doing Damian, which is... which starting there gives you a lot of... Well, maybe not starting there, but like having Damian in there kind of sets you at a point where certain things have to have happened. Or had happened by now. Right? Like, Dick can't be Robin if Damian's around. He has to be Nightwing. And if he's Nightwing, did we skip over Jason and Tim? Or has Jason already died? Is Jason back as Red Hood or not? Drake, is he Robin? Has he grown up from Robin to another thing? What is he? So I've been conflicted on that. And I like Damian. I don't dislike Damian at all. But it kind of puts a damper on what you can do with the Bat family whenever you have Damian, because you can't introduce young Dick Grayson or young Tim Drake, or you can't just randomly have Jason Todd, because these characters have to have done X thing and Y thing by this point. Cassandra Cain is probably my favorite Bat family member. I don't know where you slot her in if you already have Damian. Or maybe you can. I guess you can find a spot for her, but I don't know what you do with it. Because having Damian as Robin kind of makes Robin Batman's son in a way that it didn't have to be before that. Where, like, Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, Jason Todd, these characters were Robin, and they were like adopted children of Bruce. But now Robin, because he's Damian, is literally Bruce's kid. Which makes that relationship great. Like, obviously, like, they have good back and forths, and it's really interesting. But it also, like, it kind of makes it where Bruce can't have the journey of learning how to take care of these kids. He can't have the journey of figuring out how to take care of Dick, how to take care of Jason, how to take care of Tim. We don't get to see him get over these failures and whatnot because we're already past those. And if we're doing that, right, and Bruce is like, Damian is, let's say, 11, right? Okay, well, it's been 11 years since Bruce did the deed to make Damian. Great. Theoretically, it was a time either right before or during his time as Batman. Meaning, he has to be like, what? 33 at the earliest? Which which isn't old. Like, Batman doesn't have to be 20. We've all seen Year 1 and Year 2 and Year 3 17 times. But I think the relationship between Batman and Superman, if Batman's 10 years older than Superman, it kind of puts a limit on what their relationship can be, unless you take their relationship into a different direction, which you can do. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just expressing what I worry for. Because I want Bat Family, for sure. I want Bat Family. There's a couple people on there who I think are really intriguing. I want to see what they do with Nightwing. I want to see what they do with Damian. I want to figure out what label they give Tim. If Damian's Robin, I want to know what they give Tim Drake as a label. Because I don't want him to be like Red Robin. Because I don't like two Robins. Different name, please. Or Cassandra Cain comes in, right? Where does she slot into the family's dynamic with Bruce? Or do we, slow build to Cass? I don't know. Do we do characters like... One moment. I had to look up what his hero name was, because I forgot what Duke Thomas is called. It's the Signal. I don't know if that's not super intriguing, but I like Duke. Do we slot him in, or is it going to be like a rotating door for the Bat Family cast, where certain characters are elsewhere? If Nightwing is out of town for a while and doing his own thing, okay. Does Tim step into the secondhand? Is that secondhand spot now Cassandra's spot? Is it Duke's spot? Does Damian go? What do we do? Is Jason still dead? Has he come back? Has he come back and not been known? Is he the Red Hood yet? These things that I don't know the answer to. I don't know what to do for the Bat Family, but I know I want them to do Bat Family. Another thing that I don't know how to do, but I want them to do, give us stakes in some things that aren't world-ending, because some of them need to be world-ending, right? Man of Tomorrow is probably going to be world-ending. I mean, it's Lex and Clark are going to have to team up. There's going to be some, world-ending stakes there. However, the first Batman film shouldn't have world-ending stakes. It just shouldn't. Green Arrow shouldn't have world-ending stakes. I don't know why you would. The Lanterns, you could give them world-ending stakes because there's so many of them and they're so goddamn powerful. And you can give them world-ending stakes to other worlds. And introduce us to the cosmic side. A thing like Clayface shouldn't have into the world stakes. I feel like there needs to be a good combination of things that will end the world and things that will only affect X city or X town or X person even. Because those are some of the stories that are the most impactful, are the ones that are smaller scale. The best Spider-Man stories aren't the ones where he saves the planet. They're the ones where he saves New York, where he saves Gwen, or saves Mary Jane, or saves Harry, or saves the Bugle. It's these small wins that matter for that character. And with Batman, the best Batman stories are when he saves his child, or when he saves a random person, or when he saves a villain from falling into themselves, or whatever it may be. Those smaller stakes are what build the world. Because if you have just every film with a world-ending stake, the only thing we know about this world is that it wants to fucking blow up. Whereas if we have these smaller stakes, we care more about these people. And you're allowed to have fails. You're allowed to mess up on that smaller scale. And that builds character for our heroes, that builds character for our villains, that builds character for our planet, for the characters on it, just the humans, everything. It's super duper interesting to me. Give us the Terrifics. I think we should get the Terrifics. Half of the team is already in the DCU. You might as well put the rest in there and make the Terrifics. Do it. I want live action Solomon Grundy, because I want to see how you make him look. Do that, please. I want John Johns. Give me John Johns. I like Martian Manhunter a lot. He's one of my favorite characters of DC. I think the recent Absolute Martian Manhunter comics have been phenomenal. Like, all of the Absolute universe so far has been good. I've liked Manhunter the most. It's been so good. Give us Martian Manhunter. I mean, technically he was hinted at in DCEU, but he didn't really show up. I think John is a very tragic character, and a character that you can give these small little personal stakes to, whilst also giving them these huge stakes, and seeing how he deals with both of them. Personally, I think he can have a movie. I think you can do a Martian Manhunter movie. I don't know if they will, due to the fact that the character's name recognition isn't that of a Superman or a Batman, or even someone like The Flash or Green Lantern or whatever. But I think John Jones can carry a film. I think there's a lot of interesting character there. He's a very... His story is very Frankenstein-esque. And not in the sense of, like, he was created by these people or whatnot, but, like, the journey that he goes on, figuring out where he belongs with humanity. His relationship with fire. Sorry about that. But I feel like John has an interesting story. I think you could bring in a few other characters from elsewhere. You can give us some tremendous, like, CGI stuff, practical effects, all this. I feel like the character is heavily slept on. I feel like he needs to be... He doesn't need to be at the forefront and be the main character of the universe, and I don't like main characters of universes. I think they're kind of boring. So I kind of would like if they just didn't do one of those. But I like John, and I would like to see what they can do with him. Speaking of what they can do with him, dear God, can we have a Flash that isn't terrible? I don't like the Flash show. And that's not an actor thing. I think Grant is a tremendous actor. I think Grant is a tremendous talent and somebody who I believe could have been like a perfect candidate for the Flash, right? But I'm not a huge fan of that show. I'm not a big fan of the way they do their storytelling. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of the bits that are just X character and Y character are now one person, and how they kind of make Wally into... It's kind of weird. They make him Barry, but they give him Wally's character, which to me is wild. How they even give him his girlfriend. It's fucking crazy. But like I don't like that show. I think the Flash film was... Anyways, but I like the Flash a lot. The Flash is a very interesting character with a very interesting rogues gallery, with a very cool power set, a very cool, like, main through line of a story. I think he is a very interesting character. And I would like them to do something with Flash that isn't super boring. Please. Also, don't give us, like, a crazy reverse Flash thing, right? But, like, don't do it yet. Don't start us with, like, Flash 1 with Reverse Flash in it. Build him, please. It was me, Barry. But it's Wally this time. Or maybe it's Barry. I don't really care. I like both. Yeah. But do that, please. Please. Can we have Cyborg not be a Justice Leaguer just yet? Can we have Teen Titans, please? Can we have a Teen Titans, please? I want the Teen Titans. And I kind of... I don't know who to put on it because the Teen Titans are very much in the sense of a Justice League or an Avengers or anything like that, or X-Men, especially in X-Men. It is like everybody knows like Teen Titans is Beast Boy, Cyborg, Robin, Starfire, Raven, right? And that's like the go-to. But there's been so many characters in it. Aqualad, there has been like 3 different versions of Kid Flash, other Bat family members, it's not always Dick. There are so many characters who have been part of it. I mean, if you look at Young Justice, like half of that cast has been a Teen Titan before. So I would like a Teen Titans. I would like Cyborg to be part of that first. You can always build him up to be a Justice League member, as you can with most of those characters. But I would like Teen Titans, because I feel like having those teenage woes put on screen in that way could be really impactful towards some younger folk. And I'm very interested to see what they could do with it, because the Teen Titans have their own rogues gallery, which is really fucking fun. And I think there's a lot you can do with all of that. It's very nice. Mimi like it. Another couple little things. Oh my lord. Couple more littler things that I want to point out that I would like. Good cinematography. I think Superman has really fun cinematography. I think if they continue to have good cinematography, I'll be happy. I want good cinematography. It makes movies look better. So there's that little piece. Don't rush into big bads. For example, it'd be like if the Lantern show adapted... Is it Darkest Night or Blackest Night? I always fuck that part up. I think it's... I don't even remember. Green Lantern. Darkest Night. Is that correct? Blackest Night. Okay, I was right on that one. Yeah. It'd be like if they adapted all of Blackest Night in the, short series rather than waiting to do it as, a big deal. Or if Superman 2 comes out and it's immediately Darkseid. Come on. I think that's boring. I think there's a lot more you can do than just that. So I would like them to build those big bads up rather than throwing them out there. Also, don't try to be the MCU. I think that's what's most important. Because I don't think the MCU is over. I just don't think it's over. I feel like craziest scenario is they do a soft reboot, but they're not ending. They make too much fucking money. So don't be them. Be something else so that we can have that MCU to go at and look at if we want. But give us something different. Give us something separate. Give us something that has a different feel and a different vibe and means something different. Because these are different characters and different stories, different writers, different actors. I think it's important to give us some sort of difference between the two. I could sit here for another hour and a half and just keep yapping, but between me being sick and me not scripting, I don't really feel like going for another hour. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for your support. I appreciate you all. In the description, you will see a link to the Discord where you can talk with me, like-minded individuals, and other friends of the channel. Thank you so much for your time. I love you guys, and I'll see you next week. Probably not as sick. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.